With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, around the flights of the round rectangular table, whatever you want to call it. It's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there, buddy?
Mark, I'm doing great down here. Good to be back around the table, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. It's been a while for us, hasn't it?
It's been a little bit since we've been around the table. It seems like it kind of comes and goes, ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
We'll get a few around the table, and then
it's like a month or so, right?
Well, yeah, even longer. We'll do a bunch online. And
yeah. I like these. These are so much more fun for me, I think, anyway. So
yeah,
I like being able hanging out live and doing a fun show, man. So tonight's gonna be a good show. Looking forward to this one. It's gonna be really cool. So this is gonna be great. We do want to thank all our sponsors before we get into the show. And with that said, though, Matt, you want to go ahead and just tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
I'd love to.
Awesome. Do that, Matt.
Thanks. Joining us and joining you all this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is you get your Bourbon Life podcast, is the Executive Vice President and Master Blender at Limestone Farms, Barry Downing. Barry, welcome on to the Bourbon Life podcast. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks, Matt. Yep. Thanks, Mark, for having me.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, man. Happy to have you on here.
Yeah.
I know, appreciate
it's an honor.
A mutual friend of ours, Lee Cruz, that connected us together on this. So we've got to give
the legend.
Shout out to Lee. Not that Lee listens to the podcast, but you never know, right?
Yeah, he should, He
should.
He spends too much time at the library, I think. So.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
The library, yeah. Was he a stripper over? No, there was.
On stage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can see Lee. No, he was a comedian. He is a comedian.
He is a comedian.
Yeah.
He's actually surprisingly good.
Funny, I know.
So he's really good.
He played down in Danville recently.
He did. We went down and my wife and I went down, spent the night, and I do some work down there with a distillery down there as well.
Okay.
So
very nice.
I contract out a little bit some of my things that I've been doing for a while. So
nice. Took in a little theater.
We did. And it's a great venue, man. If you get a chance, go down there to the Playhouse. It was the Pioneer Playhouse. It's
I've never seen Lee do a comedy show. Now, he was a DJ years ago.
He was. Some of the guys, another one of his opening acts was a DJ for him.
So was he really?
They knew each other for 30 years. So.
Oh, man.
And he was pretty good, too. So.
That's funny. Yeah, Lee, he was a good DJ. I enjoyed listening to him on the radio years ago. Anyway, man, we're getting off topic.
Anyways,
sorry,
Lee,
Kevin Bacon
it is
here.
a show. Haley's going to be real upset.
Yeah,
so.
no doubt. We're not even talking about Haley.
Exactly.
She's a sweetheart. We love you, Haley.
That's right.
Just in case. So let's talk about what we're going to be drinking here tonight. So, Barry, I mean, this is your product, so if you want to just kind of introduce our first round, what we have poured up here, and tell everybody about it.
Sure, absolutely. This is our first one here, which is going to be our select batch, for lack of a better word, our entry level.
Okay.
This is a luxury brand, so there really isn't anything that is technically entry level in these, and we only use mature barrels. Some. Right now, obviously, our distillery won't be producing anything until springtime next year, and so we won't be using our juice for quite some time.
Sure.
Obviously. So right now, and even after that, I'm going to continue to buy juice from good, well-reputable distillers.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, it's Kentucky. It's always going to be Kentucky. And it's right on the permanent label right there, Kentucky. So
very nice.
We are going to have, expressions from other people. But when you taste this, the worst thing that can happen to me is that if you go, oh, this smells like ABC. And I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because then I didn't do my job of crafting and blending, which I think is the next step in the evolution of bourbon.
Right.
And if it's not, I think bourbon industry's in trouble.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
That makes a lot of sense. Danny Kahn over at Sazerac, or Buffalo Trace, whatever, he talked about distilling, is the science part of it, but the blending part, the art, a big part of how you do things. So yeah, you don't want it to taste like somebody else's stuff. Yep. I mean, even though it's a product you're buying from somebody else, you want it to be your own.
Done business with Sazerac folks, and they've always been honorable and great guys, and obviously they make some really good juice.
Yeah, so, no doubt about that. So this one comes in, 111 proof, is that right?
Correct. The first batch was 114, and I'm going to target that. In these labels, I want to always try to keep it above 110. I can charge you for water, but I'd rather not.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm a high proof, in case you don't know, Matt, I don't know if you knew that either, but I'm a high proof. Isn't that a shock?
Learning so much tonight.
We'll call you Mr. Octane.
There you go. That's right. Octane, no doubt about it. Age on this one. Do you have an age, or can
this one here is almost all 9-year-old on it?
Is it really?
Yes, it is. So this one here, there's about 8% of this. It's at 6.5%, or 6.5-year-old. But majority of what we have here tonight is going to be. I don't want to use. And again, I'm not going to pigeonhole myself into things. So on my tasting notes on this, I say 6 to 9 years.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that way, I want to make sure it's always going to be something that's going to blend, because it's very, very much barrel specific in the blending process.
Okay.
If it's, this one has 22 different barrels in it, but I'm not using all 22 barrels. I might use 5 gallons from one, 30 gallons from another, 2 gallons. And then I'm working. So I'm not, again, why? If those are really good barrels, they're going to make me something else really good down the road.
Don't use them all.
At least I think it's going to be good.
Now, those barrels, because usually I was going to ask the next question, mash bill. Are they all the same? The barrels in that, are they the same?
This is all the same mash bill, yes. I don't have a cross.
Can you say what that is?
The mash bill is 78-13-9. So it's a low mid rye.
Gotcha.
And it's been around, that mash bill's been around a long time.
Yeah, you see Matt and I are both writing notes. I like to keep track of what it is that we're drinking.
Absolutely.
So, Matt, we've talked about it, man. We set it up. What do you pick up? And this is the select batch,
correct?
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you pick up on the nose on this one, man?
The first thing I picked up was a real strong vanilla, not like a fake imitation vanilla, like actual vanilla bean.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah. Everything I want in here is going to be delineated flavor profile. I don't want any muddled flavors. If it's muddled, then I messed up. And that will happen, of course, but every now and then. But hopefully not yet. So anyways, thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of vanilla, then leads to like some nougat. So I think there's some sweetness in there coming through, kind of nougat-like.
Yeah, a bit of honey kind of thing, like that bit of honey, nougat, and honey. And
there's almost like a little brittle. It's not like a nut brittle, though, like not super strong peanut brittle.
Like it came out of the oven, the cooked butter around nougat. Yeah, I could see that
on it as well. For 6 to 9 years, I was expecting to get a little more oak, but I'm not saying that it's under oaked at all. And it's certainly not over oaked. I think it's got a nice amount. I was just expecting more bold oak right out of the start.
If my whiskeys show barrel fatigue, that is a huge flaw, I think.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
it'll dominate everything. And that's why I want to hold on to. If it's going to take some 6-year-old, some 7-year-old, something that's going to have a little bit of lift to give that heavy, weighty stuff buoyancy in the glass, especially, because otherwise we've had Dusties from, that are 12, 15 years old that have been around. They typically don't hold up very well in the bottle. Those, shoot some of those old bean things with the Ducks Unlimited from the late 60s, early 70s. Those Dusties, those things are in ceramic, you know, they're still holding. And they were 6, 8 years old, those promotional things, So that's my theory. Again, I could totally be wrong, and we'll find out in 15, 20 years.
Out, right?
I may not be here, but I hope I am, God willing, and the creek don't rise kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Matt, anything else you pick out on that?
A nice, good little like finish of corn on the nose. That's like sweet corn pudding, sweet corn bread down the end of it as well.
I get like a maybe stone fruit type of like cherry aroma off of this as well. Maybe even like some brown sugar. You talk about nougat and like the baked stuff, but I'm kind of pick up a little brown sugar type of an aroma on this one for me.
It's often common, and stone fruits are what I'm typically going for.
Yeah.
I mean, you can throw extra staves into it, and I do stave some of my barrels in my crafting stage, but if all I do is use alligator and char the heck out of those things, you're going to get cobblers and things like that. And peach cobbler is really cool, really fun, but afterwards it has so much weight, it holds everything down. Gotcha. And that's when you start getting those muddled flavors. And 2 years in the bottle, you start picking up brownie notes and things like that. Again, it's great if it's a dessert, if that's the intended purpose.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But again, I want this to stand up in an old fashioned if people want to make a
sense.
luxury old fashioned.
So Barry, let's talk about you. We talk about the nose on this. We'll come back, talk about the palate here in just a few minutes. But in terms of who you are, your background, your education, your background, what you've done, and then how you managed to get yourself into the wonderful world of whiskey.
Yeah, well, I joke that after college, this is the only industry that would take me, but not too far off in a way. So, I started out in marketing and then culinary school. I was a chef, Vail, Colorado, in front of the house.
Where in
became
Vail?
a sommelier at the Sun and Alp and Gore Creek Resort, right down the West Lions Head Circle.
Yeah, I
lived
cooked at the Chop House there, and also
Right
Sweet
on.
Basil.
Yeah, Sweet Basil is awesome, man.
Yeah, it was
right
back-
off. Yeah, that's
back of the house there.
Yeah, a little to the east side there. Yeah, absolutely. No, I lived right in Sun Country condominiums.
Oh, yeah.
right there, and then we were down at the Gore Creek down there. So I fly fished as much as I could. Blue ribbon trout stream. I was living the life in my mid-20s. So
I was there doing it as well.
exactly.
So was that.
It wasn't so
familiar.
bad, but I knew if I stayed there too long, it would kill me.
I was an attorney with my own business and married with 2 kids in my 20s, so my life was not as fun.
You underachiever. You're an underachiever.
Yeah.
My life was nowhere
But you're
near
Mr.
as
Octane, so we're all good.
Yeah, that's
nowhere
right.
near as fun as you guys. You guys make me feel like I missed out, man.
Right. So from there, I went in. I got into the wine side of things and brandies and things like that. I worked, and it's now 33rd year of it. Wow. So I've worked on 5 continents in 11 countries.
Wow.
Over 3 million airline miles in my career.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I've settled in Kentucky about 12 years ago and started doing things for myself. Kentucky Eagle, I head up their wine and spirits program, and they start going through that for about a handful of years. Brought Sazerac over to them and such, and then after that deal was done, and my bosses said, let's run this thing up. I'm like, all right, it's time to get back out there and make some money on my own now.
Yeah.
And my kids are getting out of high school, going into college, and I was home for them, so I went traveling while they're in the junior high and high school years.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
I
important.
have 4, so
Wow.
it's extremely important to me. So, but now you got to have money to pay for all that. Grandchildren coming
Yeah,
now. I have
that's
our
right.
first this year, so in September.
Congratulations,
so,
man.
Yeah, congrats.
Beautiful little girl, September 6th, Mina.
That's awesome.
She's amazing. So, but yeah, so anyway, so we just, I just kind of come full circle back into it. Crafting I've been doing for a while, and blending I've been doing for longer. I used to blend wines, now I blended brandies.
Okay.
And then I started getting in, I moved here in 2011 and started blending with some friends soon thereafter. And they thought I was crazy. I'm like, I'm going to bring layering like a chef does. I want to layer flavors.
yeah.
That's my whole thing. That's my whole mission, is to layer flavors like a chef would. And that's why the barrel selection to me is vital. It's critical. I want things that I'm not going to hide the nuances of the other barrels. I want them to lift and support each other.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to find a handful, depending on my production volume. I want to make sure that I have enough juice at that proof, because I'm not going to add that much water. So I want those to work as my core, my base. And then from there, it's going to be layering different flavors in and filling a hole, filling a gap. Like this one here, this thing was just bottled. I mean, a week and a half ago.
So you said this
This is going to develop in the bottle tremendously. This other one that I brought, if you'd like to taste, we can have you taste it in a little bit if you'd like, or whenever it's your show.
Sure we can.
It's been bottled for 4 weeks, and so
Gotcha.
you can see where and it's almost the same barrel.
So now this one, the select batch, I won't call it select stock, select batch. You said this is your second round on
Second
that?
release on this one, yes.
Okay, all right. And the first one just came out, was it June?
First one came
July?
out just before Derby, and
Okay.
we ran, but we only launched here, and it was a large batch. I mean, large in our standards,
Right.
still less than 2,000 bottles.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
it was a larger one. This batch here was at about 1,700. This one here, which is going out west into Colorado, is about 1,380 bottles.
Oh, okay.
1,380 bottles. But it has very similar notes to it, but I'm picking up this really pretty little honeysuckles and
Nice.
kind of a little bit of baking spices as well.
Okay. So you're not from Kentucky, but you've been here for 12 years. So
Yep,
originally from...
Well, my family originally is from here in 1785.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
All right.
we were born in Marshall and Muhlenberg counties.
Yeah. down by the Green River.
Yes, sir.
Where
So the
Paradise
family was here for a long time. My father moved up into Illinois and then into Michigan, West Michigan. I grew up on Lake Michigan.
He grew up in Michigan.
Yeah.
His family's
Other
from.
side of the state, but Ann Arbor.
Sure.
Goodness
No,
gracious. You guys
absolutely.
just want me to leave and you guys can just have
No,
all this.
it's all good.
no,
It's all good. You know, somebody's got to pour for us now.
But man,
Yeah, make yourself useful, Mark. Pour
I know.
yourself
I'll
out.
That's
pour
right.
you
We're
the next
going
round.
to cook
Thanks,
some
guys.
walleye in a bit. And
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Amen, right?
Yeah.
Some of
That's
that
good.
lake perch. It'll be
Well, that was another question I was going to ask you with because you said you did some branding, some
Yeah.
wine stuff. So were you doing that with other brands and things? So was that
I have,
Okay.
you know, J. Manning 1845 for a few
yeah,
years. I helped
yeah.
doing that while I was at Kentucky Eagle, and we sold it through Kentucky Eagle.
Gotcha.
So most everything that was sold through Kentucky Eagle for a handful of years was from them.
Yeah.
I blended.
Oh, okay. I
And
did
now
not realize.
they have an
Nice.
excellent blender that's come on now. Been there a couple of years. You know,
Gotcha.
Aaron does a great job over there, and they're set up in Frankfurt now. So
Jeff is something else, man.
Jeff is Jeff Mattingly.
Yeah, he
he's
is.
a gregarious
No,
man, and
they got a place. They just opened up or getting ready
right
to
across
open.
from Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
they
in
opened up
Frankfurt,
last
right?
week. I heard.
That's what I
So,
thought. I knew it was
yeah.
coming. So
Yep. So wishing them a lot of well and a lot of success. you
Yeah.
know, but you know, not too much, guys.
not too much, right?
That's right.
That's you know.
Leave a little meat on the bones for us.
That's right. You got. Everybody has to have room to do their thing, right? So, well, Matt, let's talk about the palate and the finish on this one since we're kind of about to that point. So,
Sure deal.
What are you thinking? What are you picking up?
Spicier on the front of the palate than I was expecting.
I
For the
agree.
mash bill for 78 corn, I was
yeah.
expecting more of those like smooth, subtler notes, but it wakes you up right quick.
I want some spice.
Yeah,
I think bourbon should have spice, unless you're a weeder, obviously. But
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
that and an old fashioned would be.
it's one of the best.
Man, oh man, that was just like boom, cut through that sugar and like, hey,
Carson's features it as such.
oh,
It's- it has-
okay,
Yeah.
Very nice.
Mark tasted it right away, and he's like, "Oh my God!" He took 2 cases, and he had made a old fashioned. And I recommend we did it at the Barbasol competition. That was a feature out there,
Gotcha.
and use the bitters that you want. Of course, you know that's it's
Right,
proprietary. Do
right.
what the hell you want, but the classic bitters work so beautifully with it. Use a little extra Amaro syrup just because it's a higher proof.
yeah,
You know, and then use that in there and use just a little bit more, but have fun with it.
yeah. Matt, what else you get? Got the spice up front. I agree with that right off the nose, man. I was like, wow, that's a nice little punch. Not too much, but it's surprising, like you said, for a high corn content and only 13% rye. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. So that spice, and then the corn comes through. I get like kind of that cornbread or a corn cake, but not like deep Southern style, not sweet. Like think of
I think
like
corn. It's not that corn pudding heavy weighted stuff. It's
no.
more
This is like
lifted, yeah.
kind of like a light, airy cornbread, but no sugar. So like think deep South cornbread, where putting sugar in your cornbread is sin. So just
thank you.
like that real nice earthy cornbread, buttery type aroma on it as well. The vanilla comes through in there. Some of the oak as well on the finish.
Does.
Yeah,
Definitely
the
picking
oak
up.
definitely shows
And the oak
up.
should pull the finishes for secondaries. That's my theory.
Yeah.
So
And then the baking spice. I think the oak brings in some of that baking spice as well, picking up kind of like the brightness of like a cardamom, a little bit of cinnamon in it as well. Almost,
cardamom, Moroccan spices I find in some of the stuff quite often. So yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I get a little bit of that. You know, like I said, the stone fruit still carries over to me on the palate as well. And that sugary, that brown sugar aroma, that still comes through to me. So maybe it's just on my mind, but you know,
I think it's classic Kentucky.
yeah, I think it is
as well.
too. That's why I'm like, I'm curious where this came from, but yeah,
There's a few people that make that mash bill, and, so,
Yeah.
and we probably will as well. So
yeah, that's really nice. So yeah, I really like, and I don't know if this was the one that I had that Lee let me sample.
same mash bill,
Same, yeah,
but
yeah.
different barrels.
The different one, different
Totally
barrels,
different
but
barrels.
yeah.
First one that you tasted was 9 full barrels.
Okay.
Because we didn't have our bottling line at the time, so I had a good
you
contract.
did the whole barrel.
Right,
Okay.
now we have our own bottling lines, and that's
Gotcha.
why there was a little bit of a gap, and we ran out of stock in the market for a little bit because
The gap from Derby until now was getting
So
the bottling line
I
out.
wasn't gonna bottle that at somebody else at the time and get through it, and it allowed. This was bottled just before all the barrels were 9 years old.
Yeah.
So I pulled it and I held it in temperature.
Yep.
And then I didn't bottle it for about another 3.5 weeks.
So you got these barrels. I mean, you're just pulling certain portions out of them, then, so you can keep those, and you're going to be able to use those down the road. And,
Yeah, I'll use those, or I get down to a spot. I mean, I pulled a batch today for the private stock. I pulled my second batch of that today. It's in tank, slow agitation going on it right now.
Yeah.
And there's some of those I'm down to the dregs, 1-2 gallons left in the bottom of the barrel, and without dumping it up there and getting all that char out, which just ends up getting this green walnut or acorn kind of flavors to it sometimes.
Yeah.
It won't stay in the barrel because it's going to go sour.
Gotcha.
So now I'll find a bunch of those together and I'll put them together, and I call it a Frankenstein barrel because otherwise it would have been out in the cemetery. So I've got bolts from this one, a neck from this one, and, and I've got a couple of Franks that we use from different ones, and you get them together and you let them stable. It takes a couple months for them to stop fighting each other, but as long as you get back up to 15 to 25 gallons in the barrel, then the barrel keeps influencing.
Keeps going.
Yep.
So, that's
obviously it's a small batch, then you can no longer do a single barrel from that. But
right.
Yeah.
So how many barrels did you say was on this one?
This one's actually partial.
Barrels, but partially of 20.
This one's 22 barrels.
22 partial barrels.
So, yeah, it took a while to get that recipe down. And then in the tank, you're still playing with it. It probably started out with 1,600 bottles I wanted and finished up with 1,700 by the time I'm done. Because you're going to keep blending it, and then you have to integrate it.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, about in terms of you're sourcing this. Of course, you talked a little bit about the fact you guys are going to start distilling. Did you say in April?
Yep. We break ground shortly. We have, this Thursday, the final zoning board to approve everything right there in Georgetown, and we're not expecting any hiccups. We've already had a lot of congratulations from officials. So
good.
Hopefully, God willing, again, that'll happen, and then we'll break ground this month, and we have some nice big pot stills coming in January, and we'll daisy chain those in, and hopefully by middle of April we'll have before Derby we definitely will have our visitor center up and running, and it'll be right there on Payne's Depot, at the Georgetown exit in Georgetown, Kentucky, where bourbon was invented.
There you go. So the Payne's Depot, so is that?
That's that big 4-lane boulevard right across from old Friends Thoroughbred Retirement Farm, and we're right adjacent to Summer Wind Thoroughbred Farm.
Okay,
it's part of the Jennings Farm, which is part of the family. It's the family's generations, and it runs about 300 head of cattle on that, and hence what our labels always look like that.
Very, very cool. Well, guys, we're at the end of round one here. Believe it or not. See, I told you this is going to go fast. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? When you start talking about things, you throw the whiskey in, it's like, oh, wow, we're already 27 minutes in, right? So, final thoughts, though, Matt, on round one.
Delicious. Great way to start. Very unique, a lot of character.
Thank you.
But everything with purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's funny, because when you think of a new brand, you don't think of somebody coming out of the gate, that's swinging. 6 to 9. That's a heavy age statement. It's a high proof, and to be like, hey guys, here we are. This is our first. This is our first go at it, and this is it. That's a bold move, man.
Well, thank you, and I think it needs it. Because anybody can go out there and just launch with a nice straight bourbon, and God knows there's plenty of them out there.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Well, very nice, man. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I tasted the other one with Lee, and I've really enjoyed it. To the point, I was surprised because I'd not had it before, and I just wasn't sure what to anticipate. Because when you think of a new brand, you're like, okay, what's this going to be like? And when he poured it for me, I was like, I had to stop for a second and be like, oh yeah, this is really, really good. So I'm glad to see consistency between the two, obviously.
And the first one had a little fig in it, and other than that, and a little different label.
Yeah,
but a little darker label. But yeah, other than that, thank you for your comments.
Yeah, no problem. Well, guys, let's take a quick break. Let's get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with Barry Dowling from Limestone Farms in just a minute.
The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky. Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call perfectly tuned taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here still live in the Bourbon Life Studios is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there on the opposite side of the...
I'm good. I'm still live.
Yeah, I'm glad you're live and alive.
Not a recording of me being played
You're
over
not AI?
on your live. You're not just talking to my recording.
That's right.
I guess.
It could be AI. I thought about that. We're just going to just forget the podcast and just do AI, Matt and Mark, and let them do it.
It'd probably be better than
what we're doing.
Than us. That's why we don't do
Bourbon
it.
Life
Right?
GPT. Here we
There you go. Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. We're having a good time tonight, man. Always have a good time when we're live in the studio, man. So it's a lot of fun. But we've got a great guest tonight. But before we jump into it, I want to thank all of our sponsors. Thank you guys for everything you do for us. We couldn't do the show without your help and support. So thank you for that. With that said, though, Matt, you want to tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
Absolutely. Barry Downing is the Executive Vice President and Master Blender at Limestone Farms, and we brought him back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast here this evening for us, this whenever it is for you all. So Barry, welcome on back.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I wasn't kicked out and taken away in handcuffs.
You weren't AI'd out either.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
That's right.
You know, maybe a little
very GPT.
little Photoshop here and there.
Well,
you know,
we captured the image. I could take all that now and run it through the process.
This is true. This is true. You've got enough video of me.
That's right. But hey, we wouldn't have the delicious bourbon that we're drinking on tonight. You poured up that second little pour for us during the break, which was also very, very nice. Another one of the select batch,
Correct.
Which is headed out west, I think is what you said. Yeah. So that was what was the proof on that one?
That one's a little higher, 113.8.
Okay. Yeah. So very, very, very nice. So this round we got something else poured up, a little different. You want to tell everybody what we have there?
Yeah. Now we're stepping up. Now this is our small batch.
Okay.
So on our mahogany label, and this carries a 9-year-old age statement. So we'll put our little stickers on here when they do. So
That's a gorgeous color.
It is.
You
I was
can hold
just
that
saying,
back
dude,
up.
that
on
is
the
awesome.
camera. The
Yeah,
color on
thank you.
that is super gorgeous.
And we filter them. I'm not one that wants to use, a lot of really tight microns, but that goes through a 50 micron and then through 30. So we're not stripping it down. I don't want to strip the flavor of that beautiful barrel, let alone the layering. But obviously you want to get, the impurities and everything else out of it as well. There's sometimes, I don't mind that little floating silt on the bottom and stuff and just give it a little twist. But in these, I want to have that, again, that clean, delineated, bright flavors with this mash bill, and
Makes sense.
especially with this mash bill.
And this is the same mash bill as what we had on the first.
For lack of a better way of describing it, this is the best of the best of the barrels from the select batch into here. And obviously smaller production run, less than 500 bottles of this one.
Okay.
I will be doing another, is being blown through really quick. So the small batch on this, and it's only been bottled for a couple of weeks.
What a great conundrum to have. Like, all of my 9-year product is selling out so quickly. I have to go blend some more super mature.
Can't begun to understand my greatness. I know.
There you go, man.
No, it's definitely something, divine intervention going on, because people are asking for it, looking for it, and there's a lot of great juice out there,
Yeah.
But people play the games of the shells and hiding this and hiding that, and people get tired of trying to keep up with it. So I know I'm the flavor of the week this week, and next week it'll be somebody else with a release.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They'll come back around to us when they do, and hopefully they take their time and enjoy it, and again, drink it the way you want to drink it.
So on this one, Barry, the first one you talked about taking a little bit from 22 different barrels.
Right.
What was the process on
This one had 11 barrels.
Okay, but still taking just portions?
Correct.
Okay.
I did drain a little bit out of here, and there is a little bit of a Frankenstein in here as well.
God, your inventory process
Is a pain in the ass.
No kidding. The person that has to deal with that spreadsheet.
Connor, if you're watching, I really apologize again. But yeah, I do our pull sheets that I have to do every time. And then if I'm going to be comboing barrels, creating a Frankenstein, anything like that, I measure everything out and we keep it in there. And yes. But that barrel's dead, and now 5 of them just created this barrel.
Yeah.
Again, that'll can be only a small batch release. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and we do this all at my blending room, right out on the farm, right there where the Darren and Bethany Dillo are our founding partners in this. They created the brand in 2022, and we started working together on it. And this, on the back label, this picture on here is a tree that's not even there anymore. This picture was taken by Bethany's grandfather a couple of generations ago.
Cool.
So this is, the family's been there for 5 generations on this farm, this cattle farm there, and then the Jennings farm, which is also part of the family, is just about 4 miles away.
Gotcha. And that's there in Scott County, right off?
Yep, both of them right there in Scott County.
Yeah.
Yep, right on Swords Road, across from a couple of golf courses right in our area. So.
So you guys, you do have everything going on right there. I mean,
that's our bottling line, my crafting, my final crafting. When barrels are ready, I'll bring them over there and I'll start working with them and prepping them. It might take me 6 months to use them, but that's kind of where my bell ringers are going to be brought to there after I've made my broader selections.
So before that, then are they staying wherever you source
in the
them
rick houses and
from where you've sourced from?
Correct.
You just leave them there until.
Correct.
Okay.
Pay them every month on storage fees.
Yeah.
The joys of this ownership,
Yeah, no doubt. So Matt, what are you picking up on this one in terms of the nose?
This one has, to me, a more savory nose. I think it is a little bit more luxurious, would be one of the ways I would describe it. I think some of the red wine fruits come through on this. There's
currant and stuff.
Yeah, raisin, fig, like a little plum, kind of those dark fruits, almost like a bright, juicy raspberry or blackberry flavors. Like a lot of red wine aromas come through on it. But then, similar to the first, there's that bright vanilla in there as well. It's really nice and really contrasts what we had in the select batch.
Thank you.
At the start.
And it should. Again, otherwise I'm just saying, this is just a little bit darker, a little bit.
Yeah.
Each one, it's an expression for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So this is the first go around on this?
This is the very first batch.
Very first one, okay.
Yep.
Very nice.
So I wanted to make sure I waited for all the barrels to catch up to make sure they're 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so therefore we wanted to make sure that, and then I worked the barrels enough for long enough that I started selecting a couple of them. I put a sticker on and say, all right, you're something I want to work with down the road, and just force myself not to play with it. But I'm 4 or 5 days a week out there. I'm tasting at least 30 to 50 barrels a day.
Wow.
And so I'm going to work with them, and I'll start playing with a little bit. Obviously I spit.
Sure.
Right. But even still, you're picking it up on your capillaries on your tongue and such, and so I'm very cognitive of that. So that could be over a 7-hour period.
Yeah.
But I want to know where they're at, and I'm making my notes: temperatures, barometric pressures, sunny, cloudy, whatever. I mean, this barn is an old tobacco barn up on top of a hill, one of the highest points in Scott County. It's been redone, new floor, new roof, siding, everything up on it. So I got our little fishing pond ready to go with a fountain in it, and it's all stocked up, ready for next year. So
great to go.
I'll be able to have some fun with that. But yeah, at any rate, so it's this one is when you come across the special barrels and they're confident after doing this for a while that they should play together. Yeah, you set these aside, and then my goal is to release one of these about every other month.
Gotcha. Matt, did you say luxurious? What did you say?
Yeah.
You said, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It's just, it has a very savory kind of...
It's very savory.
Velvety, smooth.
It makes me think of like an older type of, I don't know, you want to say a dusty bourbon, but it makes me think of an much older 12 to 15 type of...
I agree. And it has the color.
And it has the color that goes with it. So, because I'm nosing this and I'm thinking...
It smells definitely older than 9 years old.
I've had some
little biscuit notes there too.
Very fortunate to have some nice, 15-year-old, 17-year-old type whiskey over the last year
that are still holding fresh and clean. And
they really are, and this is running into that kind of same nose for me.
Yep.
So so Matt, luxurious. I like that. I mean, that's very, very good descriptive. I mean, it's not like a tasting note, obviously, but I think it's a good way to describe that. So Barry, let's talk about the brand itself, Limestone Farms. You talked a little bit about the owners, the co-founders that own the farm there. They actually have the cattle farm, Angus beef farm. Is that right?
Mostly Angus. There are a few other little ones running around there too, but mostly Angus.
Yeah.
So it's not a certified Angus cattle farm. But.
So what was the idea? I mean, what made them and you and everybody else? Because you've got other people involved in the
We do.
brand,
we're all equal partners in this. So they're obviously myself and Darren and Bethany Dillo, my wife Kristen. That's two groups, and then the two Couch brothers, Tim Couch and Greg Couch.
Yeah, for those of you who know Kentucky football.
Yes, sir. You just might. And then the other one is Bobby Sturgeon, who's a very successful businessman around the area, and then Tyler Burke as well. So they partner together on some hotel properties and a lot of about 20-some racehorses that have been quite successful, actually. They actually won a stakes, I heard, from in the Breeders' Cup this time. So
Wow, very nice.
yeah, so they had some good success last week in
All right.
in Santa Anita.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously it is maybe a cattle farm here and everything else, which we are the largest cattle producing state this side of the Mississippi.
Are we
So,
really?
yeah, Kentucky has been for over a decade now. I had to research that. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Matt, I didn't know if you knew this or not, but I am a native Kentuckian.
And you didn't know that?
I did not know that fact. I'm shocked that I never knew that.
Honored, and it's a privilege to drop that
That's
one
right,
on
man.
you.
Thanks for dropping that cow bomb on me.
It did too. So yeah, we produce. We have a lot of good cattle here. So and why not? If it's going to grow good, strong horses,
Right.
Yeah.
And
from
make
the
great
grasses,
bourbon.
why not? And get more muscle mass to them on a
Yes,
horse.
That's right.
and
We got the
stronger.
fastest cattle in this side of the Mississippi.
Man,
Right?
I'm telling you, there's a little guy out there right now. This little steer, man, he runs me down sometimes. Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
That's right. I played some football too. Tim's not the only. So did Bobby, and Bobby played college ball too. So yeah. So sorry, Tim. I know you're still the stud. So
Yeah, the deuce, man.
But it's a great partner, seriously. And it's the teamwork that we all come together. We all have different roles. We all have different strengths and weaknesses as well, and it flexes and fills in. I mean, Darren has a PhD in chemical engineering, food safety.
Oh,
so
wow.
I mean, he was in the Air Force for 16 years doing that. He's run many other companies doing it, from reducing fats and pulling them out and getting polyphenols extractions from different processes, from Louisville to Pittsburgh and Canada. I mean, he managed, I think it's something like 9 different large facilities running across North America for several years. So when he's putting together, he's all in charge of building our distillery and everything else, and nobody could do it better. So, and then he'll be our master distiller as well. Since
I was going to ask, who?
So he's done that. So
Okay.
we'll have so anybody's looking out there, sorry if you're going to come in and try to send some resumes.
Yeah.
We'll need some help. Trust me, because we're going to be doing, when all's said and done,
There you go.
it'll be about 4,000 or 5,000 barrels a month coming off our stills.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome.
Pot stills and column stills and different mash bills, and some contracting for some people. And
Yeah.
we already have some contracts in place with existing brands that.
So, let's talk a little bit about that. Just kind of curious because, a lot of times when you're sourcing, you've got these great barrels, and then you're going to be bringing online your own distillate. And that'll be down the road, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
So will it continue to be Limestone Farms, or do you have in mind, setting up a different name or different type once it's your own product, or will it all still be considered Limestone Farms, or have you guys?
It'll be Limestone Farms Distillery and then Limestone Farms brand. And so now continue to buy barrels, like I was saying, from other good producers, reputable Kentucky producers, to make into our line. Now, will we introduce other lines of bourbon and such? Probably. But do we have anything on the diagrams right now on the boards? No.
Yeah. Okay. I was kind of thinking like, Nelson Brothers down in Tennessee, right? So they had Belle Meade, they had the MGP stuff, they're putting that out.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, Nelson Brothers then puts out Nelson Brothers, what they're distilling there on site. So it's kind of 2 separate brands. So I didn't know if that was kind of your thought process.
You could,
in
except
terms
for,
of,
I mean, absolutely. I would probably choose to name it something completely different so that they didn't the consumer wasn't confused.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, again, if you're not thinking, when you pick up and you create a brand, one of my old bosses years ago, a British man, I won't give him all the kudos tonight, but he said, when you pick up your empty bottle and you're trying to create something, he goes, why do you exist? If you answer, you can't look at it and say, why don't I exist? And can't answer it if it's not for the consumer. And how did we get to the consumer?
Yeah.
Then what are you doing it for? And I've been honored and blessed to be able to build quite a few brands in my 30+ year career from start to finish, and over a dozen of them are still in the marketplace. And because a lot of the good brand builders and initiatives come from thinking it all the way through, making sure that everybody's gonna be profitable along the way.
Right.
Otherwise you can't have good partners in it, and you need it because you can't do it yourself. And the onus falls on you in so many ways as the brand owner. The wholesaler gets it from both angles, trying to take care of the the retailer and us. And they've got hundreds of problems. And then the retailers fighting with themselves and consumer trends and inventory pressures and everything else that comes along with running that. There's no easy job in this. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the old joke that how do you make a small fortune in the alcohol business? You start with a large one.
Start with a large one, right?
You know, it's just true. People come in, they don't realize how regulated it is and how much stress it is to try to get the attention in everybody, let alone finally getting to the consumer.
Yeah.
Again, that's critical, and that's why what you guys do is, again, I thank you.
Well, we're here
for your
to help
dedication to it. So
we're here for you.
You're here to have some,
some nice drinks. So let's talk about the proofing, and because you're blending these, taking, you know, the first one was 22, and this one you said was what, 8 barrels?
This one is just about 11 barrels.
11, okay.
Right? Counting the one Frankenstein. So.
Gotcha. So you're taking that, and then are you proofing down, or is this where it ends up?
This one was, I pulled it when it was a little bit warmer out. Okay. When we had a nice little warm spell, gave it a handful of days. And so this is actually a cast strength. There's no water added to it. But it only came out at 113.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these barrels that are left in it, in that cold spell we had last week, I can go out there right now, I guarantee you some are pushing 118, 119.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep. They do. It does, the way I craft and age my barrels once it's time for the crafting process, I do it on the heads.
Okay.
And I'm just not just throwing these barrels in a rick house and going, all right, that row up there on the 6th floor, you know, that's coming down, and I've tasted a bunch of them. We're going to put that in the batch, you know, and blend it up and get it in a bottle and get it out of here. Nothing wrong with that. We've done it for 200 years.
Right.
You know, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to integrate, stand them up on their heads like you have here, and get all those barrels working again. I mean, all the staves in that barrel. There's 33 to 35 staves in there. You don't know which ones are the best staves.
Right.
Hell, that can be from 5 or 6 different trees.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Or are they in the right part of the tree? Are
if
they
you're
inside,
laying
the outside, the heart?
if you're laying down,
you're not getting. I had never thought about that. Man,
I mean, you got that stave is up there and it's bent, so it slows it down because it's broader by being bent. It's a longer distance to travel than being flat.
Right.
But those aren't contributing to the whiskey anymore. They're just slowing down the angel share.
Huh. I had never considered that before, but interesting.
So stand them up. I mean, you run the problems of they become more volatile though. So when they're hitting, as we say, when they're hitting, you get it pulled in a tank, gas it, get the oxygen out, you know, let it set, and then come back to it, you know. But you get it ready to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can hold it.
I was going to ask you. Obviously, you kind of answered the question in terms of your blending. You know, obviously, bigger brands want to have consistency from batch to batch. So they're blending for that same profile, but obviously
and that's tough.
Yeah. So I'm assuming then you're letting the barrels, tasting them, what they're tasting, blending them together, and just going for where it kind of ends up.
Yeah.
Is that
and accurate? To an extent. I mean, you're going to direct them a bit.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you can have some hot rooms and, you know, rooms that you have dehumidifiers in to pull it off. You want to raise the proof up a little higher. So you have some sweat box rooms, you have some cold rooms, you have different things so you can kind of control and direct them.
Yeah.
But again, it just takes effort and control, and it's about it. Again, there's a reason why things sometimes cost the way they cost. A Bugatti costs what it costs.
Right.
Because they make 12 of them a year, you know, hand tooled and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not saying this is a Chiron here, but you know, maybe a nice little Maserati.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
Now earlier you said something about putting a stave. Do you use secondary staves? Or
I do,
finishings?
not in all my barrels.
Okay.
That's why I taste through them and see what they're asking for. It sounds corny and weird and goofy, and you know, I don't have a Ouija board or anything else out there, but I'm not opposed to one if it gives me a really good bourbon. You know, but you have to kind of connect. You just check yourself. And I go by instinct. People come out and they're like, well, can you teach me? Can you teach me? Can you teach? And just follow around, and we're going to fail a lot today, dude.
Yeah.
We're going to make some crap today out of really good single barrels. You know, but I mean, you can go out and pick a single barrel. It's good, but you get those layers by blending them and developing them. So, but you fail forward and say, okay, you know what, that really didn't work. So now let's start to the base and let's find 2 or 3 barrels that play nicely together.
Yeah.
Now let's see if we introduce this and keep track of our percentages here. And we're eyeballing things, putting together to get a start. And then we start bringing out our graduated cylinders, and I'll start doing 50 mLs, and do half percentages in there, thinking it's 100. And if I start dialing that in, then I'm going to 100 milliliter milliliter, filling up the whole 100 milliliter, testing it there to see if there's any variances from what my measurements were. And then we're going to taste from that. I'm going to pull back off half of it. We're going to taste. We're going to keep 50 mLs over there. And then we're going to say, okay, we introduced this. I introduced this. I got some little droppers. I'm going to introduce 3 milliliters of that on that. It's now 53 milliliters. So you have to be fairly decent at math. It's not 6%. It's now 3. It's like it's like 5.85%.
Right.
Because it's off of 53 total milliliters. And now you've reduced your other one. So yeah, it gets. That's why you have to spit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you're getting into some calculus there.
You do, and then from there I take it to do a liter.
Yeah.
And I'll do a liter. Yeah. If it's still rocking at that, that's when then I'm writing out my pick sheet and I'm getting it pulled and I'm putting it in a tank, and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to stir it real slow overnight.
Yeah,
try to control the temp a bit, and come back tomorrow, turn it off, let it set for about an hour, and then I'm going to taste it.
And what happens if it doesn't hold up? Because you got these
That's where if
parts mixed together.
Well,
that's where you convince yourself that it does hold up.
Damn it, that's really good. Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. I mean, you got to have a little bit being off, a little nutty.
Yeah.
So we can. Suggestive selling is important in everything,
right?
So, but no, you go through and you start tweaking it, and usually it's not very far off. You may have to add, if you've got 180 gallons in there total, then you may have to add 4 or 5.
Gotcha.
Maybe I pull some of it out and I put it into one of my Frankensteins, or into a combo barrel that's not a Frankenstein that I just had 15, 20 gallons of a couple others. Pull it over there and then work back and add something to it. But if you know your barrels, again, you have to know your barrels.
Man,
you have to know your barrels.
I'm dizzy just thinking about it all, man. Speaking of dizzy, let's jump back to the whiskey.
Yeah, I like it. So, Matt, I knew you were saying this.
Yeah,
Luxurious.
Yeah. This one for the same mash bill, completely different. Again, it was different on the nose, and I'm finding it different on the palate. It's not as punchy, straightforward. That rye punch isn't right on the front of the palate.
Yep.
To me, I pick up like a rock and rye cola type flavor. So there's kind of like that cherry. There's that.
God love your Michigan hearts.
I know. I was just going to say some Faygo right there. Yeah.
And then rock and rye is so good.
We're talking the same thing here.
Miss it. It's not Werner's, but it's.
Yeah. We're talking the same thing. There's cherry on this as well.
Yes,
I pick
lots of it on the finish as well.
Yeah.
Cherry. The finish to me too brings in some chocolate. I think some of that age, that oak brings through.
Isn't it funny? Yeah.
Some chocolate on it, and
I want some richness here in this because again, you're spending up, $35 to $45 here, a bottle from the other one, depending on the state and the taxations and such, it may be $50 more.
Yeah,
kind of hard to say, but
yeah, and there's some baking spice, a little like coriander. I think is
the coriander on that. Versus,
kind of like a little bit of that bright, fresh, like coriander, kind of lemony, zesty flavor. So just really beautiful, really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, this one here I enjoy over. Just it tells a story. It's like reading a book in a way. You just sit there and pour yourself 2.5 ounces and enjoy it over an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and just
that. I don't want to say it reminds me of something, but I mentioned earlier that it does. These 15-year-olds. That I've been drinking, 17-year-old whiskeys that I've been drinking, and that one reminds me specifically very close to one that is probably my favorite whiskey bourbon from last year. I mean, honestly, that's very, and I know that's not what you're going for, but I'm just saying that's.
I randomly stumble onto one of your favorites of the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah. But I'm just, well, like Matt said, the spiciness doesn't pop in like that first one that we had.
Right.
It does show up in terms like cinnamon for me. On the finish I get cinnamon, but I get that cherry, and even the chocolate, like you said, Matt. I was like, am I really tasting that, or is it just me? So
you get mocha, and you can
glad.
get mocha and chocolate and quite a few of them. If you want to come out, I've had guys call me from out west. They're saying, I've heard there's such things as chocolate bourbon. You can get chocolate. Yeah, come ahead on. Get on a plane, come out here, and we'll make you one.
We'll do it. But very, very nice, luxurious, like you said, Matt. That holds through. Drinks, to me, much older than what the age of the bourbon actually is.
Yeah, it's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
As long as it stays nice and clean and bright, too.
Yep.
And I think I've done. I really love this one.
I'm right there.
Yeah, what's not to love?
I'm right there with you.
Good one to hang your hat on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No doubt. And I will tell you, I know your price is, people, like I said before, people are like, oh, it's price tight. Well, what I'm thinking this reminds me of was almost $300 a bottle. So to me, that's not, if you're going to drink at that level and you're going to enjoy those premium types of bourbons, then that's that's nowhere, that's not even in the realm of out of the, where it should be. You know what I mean? Right, so, yeah, very, very nice. Well, guys.
You never get rich by being greedy. And
yeah.
That's one of my partner's, Bobby's, favorite sayings, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah. That's a good point. Guys, let's take a quick break. We're at the end of round 2 here, so let's take a quick break. But Matt, final thought on this one. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some, right? So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more with Barry Downing from Limestone Farms in just a minute. From our good friends at The Stave comes Lexington's newest hot spot to meet up with friends, have fun, and eat some great food. District 7 Social is a social and beer hall, but it's a lot more than that. Located in Lexington's Distillery District, it's the home of Lexington's first duck pin bowling lanes, and it also features a self-serve beer wall. That's right, self-serve. And if you want more, they've got it. You can try one of their delicious cocktails from the bar or order some great German fusion food from their on-site eatery, Germanish. So what are you waiting for? Be seen, be social. District 7 Social. Hey everybody, it's Mark with the Bourbon Life, and hey, let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Look, I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about Z-Biotics pre-alcohol initially, but then when Matt and I were hanging out at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it's the real deal. Go to zbiotics.com/bourbon to get 15% off your first order when you use bourbon at checkout. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and sadly final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host.
I'll be back.
I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life studios, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there at the end of the flights of the round rectangular table?
Oh, Mark, I'm doing so great. I mean, I've made it this far. I'm not going to quit before the third and final exciting round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. But how are you? You doing all right?
I'm doing great, man. And we're drinking some fantastic whiskey tonight. I'm excited about this one. So I'm excited about this next round as well, just looking at what we got poured up in the glass, just so everybody can kind of check that out. But we're having a lot of fun tonight. I do want to thank our sponsors, of course. We appreciate everything they do for us. With that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
Absolutely. We've got the VP and Master Blender at Limestone Farms, Barry Downing, back with us. Final round.
That's right, the speed round. That's right. Let's go.
I don't know. There's been no speed has gone into this. Everything's taken its time to get mature to where it is. So we're not gonna treat our guests, our listeners here to a quick round. The whiskey took its time. We'll take our time to get where we need to go to.
Exactly right. Great. Well said, Matt. So Barry, you want to tell everybody what we have poured up on this third and sadly final round?
Right. I know, indeed. This is our black label is our private stock. Mm-hmm. So the private stock label is not the same mash bills. Okay. Rarely will it be these. I mean, never say never. I might find this mash bill at something that's really cool, and if it's worth $200, well, the way I look at it, this has to be worth $300 in your glass. It's not going to cost you that much,
right?
But it's going to definitely be over $200. But this is a very, very rare mash bill, and there's only 89 of these barrels made. And this was, and I'll tell you, this came off the stills, one of the first things to come off the new Riff stills. But the mash bill is nothing that Mr. Lewis does up there on his own. This was created by one of the original partners in Rabbit Hole.
Really?
And they didn't. He never stuck around until it came to market.
Okay.
And really cool guy, Mike Safai, and he. Anyways, this is his recipe, his cook recipe. He won't tell me the cook recipe, but he did tell me the mash bill, and I can share that. This is a 70 corn, 10 honey malted wheater, and then 10 honey malted barley, and then 10% of this is going to be distiller's malt, just to add that, get everything going, get it jump started. And I think the distiller malt adds a bit of the color into it as well. But again, that's my unprofessional opinion on that side of it. But these are, I mean, each one of the barrels that you smell with these, and when you pop the bungs on these and you go into that room, and the night before you pop it, you go back in the next morning, you just want to stay in there. I mean, you can just smell everything. You wouldn't have to, if I only did was smell this all night, I would be satisfied. I would think maybe I was missing a little something in my life, and then you taste it, and hopefully it gets broader. And this is one that will reward you with patience of letting it breathe in the glass as well.
And what was the proof on this one again?
This one comes in about 115.
Okay.
And this has a little bit of water. It was, a little bit, not much. Out of the 110 gallons I pulled on this, I used 1.5 gallons of water. So it dropped at about 1.5 points.
Yeah, so not much at all.
No.
Matt, what do you think?
And I did it just to broaden it a little bit.
Gosh, this first, just the color on that. We remarked on the color on the last one.
It's not quite 8 years old either. But
that's insane.
It's just
this color
is so uniquely rare that it's just
absolutely gorgeous. But you were talking about kind of those red wine fruits and that really savory but bright, bold flavors. A lot of the red wine fruits, the cherry, fig, date, plum, and then call me crazy, but I almost pick up like some tropical undernotes.
Are you going to say coconut?
I was going to say a little coconut, but
After
almost
you
like
said that, I was like, I'm not going to say coconut.
But to me, there's like papaya.
Okay.
It's like not.
That's intriguing.
It's not
like
as bright.
like dried papaya.
Yeah, it's not as bright as a mango, not as bright as pineapple, but there's like something a little almost like tropical underneath all those rich stone.
Funny you say that, because this was pulled and made in those warm weeks a few weeks back, and some of these will throw, and even some of the other mash bill, you can get like grilled pineapple, and sometimes I'll pick up unripe pineapple when it's really cold.
Yeah,
but I think your papaya is a dead ringer.
There's something really subtle underneath all of it, and then like a nice, good bready, like wheat fresh baked bread, kind of tail end on the nose.
Comes up on the alcohol, the lift as it rolls up. I can see that.
Just
almost
really,
not sweet enough to be brioche, but it's yep.
I get almost like a little leather taste or aroma to it as well. So, and I know it's not as old, and I usually associate that with older whiskeys, but
often MGP will throw it at about 6 years sometimes. But
but I get almost like a.
But you got to stave the hell out of it.
And like a cherry, like a tobacco. It makes me think of like cherry pipe tobacco. Something like that. Get that.
My brain just rolled over. You said tobacco makes me think of like almost a little hint on the back end, like black olive.
Oh. Okay.
Like almost a salinity or something. It's like a little.
Yeah. Okay.
On the back end, it's like you just opened a can of black olives at Thanksgiving. You put it out there and you're serving. You're like, oh, what's that smell?
Yeah, I love that. I love when something adds just like a touch of briny flavor, like not necessarily like seawater brine, but just like there's some sort of a.
So the gallon and a half of water was salt water.
It was salt water. It was black olive water.
Right,
yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
but they'd probably come off the Ohio River. So
God only knows what's going to come out of that one. Yeah.
No offense, everybody. No offense.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on the Ohio River, so you can talk bad about it all you want because it was nasty.
You grew up on the old Big Sandy?
On the Ohio.
Oh.
In Flatwoods, it's right beside Russell, and Russell was right on the river, right outside of Ashland. Yeah, so all the chemical
Ashland's
plants.
the Big Sandy.
Huh?
Isn't Ashland on the Big Sandy?
It is, but the Big Sandy runs up into the Ohio, so the Ohio runs along Greenup County and
spent a lot of time looking at the Big Sandy when I was working in Catlettsburg.
in Cowtown, yeah. Well, the refineries, they used to dump all their stuff into the river, and it would flow downstream, then make it to Russell, and we used to go out on the Ohio River all the time. I have like a third. Well, I won't tell you what.
Yeah, surgically removed.
Got it exactly right.
You have to wait for the memoirs to come out for that one.
Exactly right. We're working on that now. But let's talk about these bottles. Let's talk about these labels. Talk about the design, everything that goes into it, because they're beautiful bottles, beautiful labels. Can you tell us about this?
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, credit back to Bethany Dillo and her family at the farm, but also their idea, her and Darren with their cattle farms.
Yeah.
And so this is the international symbol for leather goods. So so that's the the design that they came up with. Yep. On the bottom of your shoes, or handbags, whatever. But then this is a lacquered finish.
Okay.
Very expensive. Only a few companies will do it. So one of the largest companies we used on this was not Kentucky. I'm sorry, guys. We tried here, but we couldn't. So it went to Pennsylvania to get this lacquered finish done to it. So it kind of has that feel and that texture to it of that leather.
Yeah.
Without actually being leather. But it's thick, it's dense.
Very nice.
And so the back label again is, you got to have the right amount of ink on it to be able to stand up. Otherwise, it just come across flat, and it has to sing because it's important to the family.
Yeah.
So if you look at the top here in our ribbon, the ribbon part of this is on this releases here are the first ones to have it.
Okay.
So this is if there's a collection. So if a retailer or a restaurateur wants to come in and they want to do their own collection. Or, exactly. So collection. And so there, we'll put it in there, like we have a charity selection that's going out to Colorado, the Melendez Foundation, to raise money for Children's Christmas is coming up. And so we had custom labels, no chart.
Okay, so it'll say...
It'll say Melendez Foundation in that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And then from here, it'll say, Georgetown, Kentucky, or Georgetown. Oh, I'm sorry, Limestone Farms, Georgetown, Kentucky. So just as it progresses down. So an LF, that's Limestone Farms. It's going to be our moniker.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful bottle. Again, beautiful labels, man. Very, very nice. So Barry, we were talking, we talked about the staves that you use. And then before we got into the third round here, off camera, we were talking a little bit about, finishing barrels and things like that. Can you talk about that? Because everybody seems to be, finishing.
Sure.
We even joked a little bit about some
Sure,
of the...
and I'll try not to offend, and everybody does their own thing, and what I believe is what somebody else believes, and you can do one in one hand and one in the other and see which fills up the fastest, So I like finishing. I think it's one of the arrows in the quiver of a crafter. But again, similarly to going and picking the best barrel out of 5 and making a single barrel versus taking blends and blending those 5 barrels to come up with something with more layers. Anybody can go out there, oh, that's the best one. Well, it's the best one to you, but the other one's the best one to you, and you've been in enough picks that does happen all the time.
Mark and I usually have that problem.
Yeah.
We often disagree.
Whoever else is with us usually supersede my decision, so...
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. That's. I've been married a while too. So.
There you go.
I know what it's like.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Go. So, but so my viewpoint on it, yes, use it. That first release of our select batch.
Yeah.
I put some Madeira wood in it. I cut up some Madeira wood, soaked them, retoasted them, sanded them down, retoasted some of them, put them in there to add a little bit of nuance to it, and I really liked it. And if I'm 100% honest, even in this small batch, the Frankenstein was from the first batch of that. So this technically might have 0.5% of that from it as well. Now, there's all kinds of different wood craftings. I mean, you can buy, I've got a catalog that I can buy anything from sauterne to, Bordeaux bottles, Amarone barrels, you can buy, obviously cognac casks, and it's great. I mean, I think it really can add a nice little nuance. I have some Napa Valley Cabernet barrels that I have some stuff aging right now on my Frankensteins. I call it, and we said off camera, I call it Frankenwine. It's
That's great.
It's really flipping fun, But I am also, it has no extra staving action in it.
Right.
But all the barrels that came from, that's in there, all had staves when they were used.
Gotcha.
And so I used those staved barrels to go with my unstaved barrels, because my unstaved barrels have that freshness and brightness. The staved barrels, depending on what level of toast, how much I soaked them beforehand. Again, I soak my staves to leach out a lot of the harshness of the old whiskey that's in there that's been dried out sometimes, and let them breathe back in with some good flavors, and then I'll integrate it back in with different levels of toast. I can use, again, adding holes to them, at different angles to add untoasted areas, uncharred areas to it to add some nice fresh oak treatment to it as well. But again, not every barrel. I've yet to release one that is all the barrels have been extra staved. Mm-hmm. and I don't like using too many, and I definitely don't like using
Right.
too heavy of a toast. Again, I don't want the manipulated, muddled up, homogenized flavors that will bring. It will.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit because you guys, I mean, you're a new brand.
Yes.
But you've had quite a few successes. One of the big ones this year was partnering with the PGA.
We did.
Yeah,
It was
can
quite
you
an honor.
Talk about that relationship and how that developed and where that's headed.
Partner Darren, and obviously Dan Kett, who is our press agent. He is also the media director for the PGA for the Barbasol. And so we shared that in common. He said, "Hey guys, there might be an opportunity here."
Yeah.
And we're like, so-and-so backed out. They couldn't come up with the funds to do it. And so we stepped in and we're like, we entertained the idea and we looked at it and we said, all right, let's do this. And so we sponsored it. They actually gave us, after a couple of days of successful tournament, with some of the feedback of the specialized cocktails that we did and everything else in the areas, they said, hey, we want to make Sunday the Limestone Farm, Barbasol and Limestone Farm. So we got the Sunday day sponsorship for nothing, and that's usually quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
For that, because that's fully televised as well for that last day. And the Barbasol is no longer on the contract, and so we have been in. They asked us to join in before the tournament was even over. We were already told the PGA tournament president was there, and we're talking about it. They want a very large 5-year contract, and we want the 5-year contract for not quite so large a number. But we're looking to it.
Yeah.
We're seriously looking. We've had several meetings since then.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. I remember when it was announced, Liquor Barn is one of our sponsors, and I know Andrew from up at Liquor Barn here in Hamburg was on one of the morning TV local news shows doing some.
He was on there with me.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Tim and I were on there.
He was like, you got to watch this, man. And he's a great guy. And I was, when I'm in Hamburg,
just earned his executive cert level
that's right,
at that time.
Yeah. And now he's teaching the class. He's teaching the certifieds to other people as well.
He's a talented guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a good dude, but he was like, man, you got to check it out. We're going to be on TV. So I didn't get the chance to come up to the signing, but yeah, so I got to see that. But he's a good guy. So I remember when that happened, I was like, man, that's a big thing. That's really big.
It is, and we appreciate it. Yeah, and when they want to keep it in Kentucky, and that we want to keep it in Kentucky. Honestly, all of our partners, we all golf. I live on a course, and they, a couple of my other guys live, on courses.
Yeah.
And so, Limestone Farms, the crafting and the blending room right there is right across from a course.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we do love our golf. I mean, again, like everybody, I see your clubs over there. I can go out and hack it up right along with anybody.
I don't play. I got the gloves. I don't play. But
hey, if you can you can wear the clothes, you look like it.
There you go. I just fake it until I actually do it, right, Matt?
Yep.
He likes to pick on me for that.
Well, he's from Michigan. You golf.
Oh.
Yeah. Of course I golf.
Yeah, you're born golfing in Michigan.
Man.
Golfing, ice hockey. You play one. When it's too cold to golf, you play hockey. When it's too hot, you play hockey.
That's right.
Play golf.
That's right. That's right. Happy is a legend up there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's crazy. Well, that's great. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad you guys were able to set that up, and hopefully, you'll be able to move forward and do some.
We want to, and it's confident right now. I mean, we're just in negotiations in the final stages. They have to. If they don't get a sponsor, then they'll underwrite it themselves.
Yeah.
They have to contractually.
To keep it going.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about you had mentioned, I think, single barrels. You're not doing any single barrels at
Haven't
this
done it yet,
point, but is that something in the future you're going to be looking at doing?
Absolutely. The white and the black label, and then we'll introduce another range next year with some barrels I have right now that are 5.5 years old that I'm crafting up, and when they turn 6, we'll introduce a steady. I want to keep the steady supply going of something that will be in that $75-$80 retail range, and that'll be in a different color, but just a different color label.
So will you be working with
We'll do single barrels at that stage with the other stuff.
So people can come in. Will you do picks for people and have the opportunity to come in?
And if somebody comes in, again, if a great restaurant comes in like, I can't afford 240 bottles.
Right.
Well, I can proof it down, and think that's the other. Well, now it's 300, but it's cheaper. No, I mean, if you can come in here and you're gonna promote my brand at your place, you want 60 bottles?
Yeah.
Let's do it. You know, if you have a foundation, a charity foundation, we're going to work with you. We're going to work with our wholesalers to make things happy so your charity can benefit the most and do the most good for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Philanthropy is huge and important for us, and we can bring in and do labels, again, do the custom labels on here. People are like, oh my God, I don't want to do 10,000 bottles. I can't afford that. Well, one thing, I'm not going to charge you for the custom label. We're going to eat that for you out of donation on the charity to give back. And
Nice.
if you're not giving back, then you're not really trying.
Yeah, that's good. Very well said. So, because what you do in terms of blending portions from this barrel, that barrel, will you set that up where people can do that as well, maybe? Or is that going to be too complicated?
The barrel experience is definitely on the books.
Okay, all right.
It definitely is on the books. We are going to have the separate areas because sometimes when you get the tourist bus coming in and then you got the craft tater hunters coming in to do their thing, they don't, not necessarily everybody wants to see how the sausage is made.
Right.
Yeah.
And, a lot of folks are having a really good time all week off those buses, hitting every place, and we don't want to get in their way because we got people are trying to be too into it because everything else. And so you kind of keep things different. But I want the tourists, if they want to do that, for them to have an experience to taste through. Pulling a dram out of a barrel with a thief
it's life-changing.
It does. It truly is.
Yeah.
The first time they do it, people are like, take a picture.
It is. It's awesome, man. It's a great experience.
For years, I was called Uncle Barry, and I got Christmas cards from people. Uncle Barry, thank you so much. What a great time. Unique experience. And again, you cannot. Those are the things on my deathbed I hope I remember.
Yeah. Very nice, man. So very cool. Matt, let's talk about the whiskey. Jump back over to the palate and the finish on this. And what do you pick up on it?
As we all sit here and take a sip.
Yeah.
The palate for me is really warm right up front. It's not that spicy that we had in the first round.
It's sweeter.
It's not that savory that we had in the second round. It's got like a nice warm, doughy, like fried dough or like a warm kind of like bread type flavor right at the start. There's a little bit of citrus almost, like a little orange.
It's very lifted and bright, like a bing, it's like ding ding.
A little creamy orange. There's some cereal grain in it. I think the barley, the 20% barley is definitely playing through. Again, I'm going to say that call me crazy here on the nose. It was that papaya, that tropical fruit. I get blueberries. There's
really?
Like blueberry cobbler.
Yeah, cobbler.
In it.
I do too. It's that doughy, yeasty stuff you're talking about. I was going to say, I get like blueberry cobbler. It's like
a really savory but bright blueberry in it as well.
Cobbler on the top that you just on your cast iron Dutch oven.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm picturing. I'm looking at my skillet in my mind right now. I know
Absolutely.
exactly, but nice long warm finish too.
Drop a little bit of water in this, and you'll add more. Actually, with this one, you take it to 111, and it'll drink hotter. I mean,
I can see that.
The fuse oil's going to get out of balance with the ethyl, and that's often in older stuff, as you've experienced too. I'm sure you got to find that right sweet spot. But this at about 95, 107, 106, 95.
Yeah,
it's absolutely glorious. So again, I want everybody to drink this. You add your water and drink it where you want to.
Right.
I'm not going to charge you for the water.
That's awesome. Yeah, just proof it to where you want it and enjoy it the way you like it.
Absolutely. It's your money. It's your bottle, So find that sweet spot. So this one here, I wanted to keep it a little bit hotter, but this one was a challenge. In the warm, these barrels want to stand on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the mash bill, some of the honey malt, honey wheat, those can be kind of loud, predominant flavors sometime. Right.
They want to scream at you all on their own. So you gotta. It's like a bunch. It's a bunch of kids that didn't have their Ritalin in kindergarten, and those teachers are the most underpaid people we know, right? Yeah. So what they have to deal with this is like just toddlers bouncing off the walls. These barrels of pick me.
Yeah.
And when you finally get them to right in there, again, adding a little water to it. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna, I don't have anything to add to what you guys descriptor wise. I mean, it's great. So
if any one thing, I might pick up that little ginger snap graham cracker in there as well. But I love the cobbler is what's always screaming to me, and the one I was playing with today that will set for a while. We'll release it in about a month.
Yeah,
is like coconut macaroons with blueberry and a nice little tropical notes again to it, but it's clean and bright and just jumping out of the glass.
Very nice.
Jumping out of the glass.
Yeah,
So let's
need to put me on the subscription program here. Just auto debit my card.
Yep.
Give me the monthly delivery.
We're happy to do so.
We're happy to
Have I
take your
showed you my
money.
4 kids?
Yeah,
grandchildren.
that's right. You got a grandkid and everything, Matt. so
that's
you
right.
can help pay for all
18
that.
dogs. No, I'm just kidding.
So Barry, let's talk about the future. What's that look like for you and for the brand?
Well, we're excited. Again, it's just been a great pleasure to have everybody embrace things so far. And so, yeah, we'll be breaking ground here shortly. Again, like we're talking about, hopefully that all goes through on a 44-acre facility right in there on the outskirts of Georgetown, right off about a mile and a half off I-64. And from there, we'll continue to partner and grow with some people. We are looking at opportunities that keep coming along with some partnerships, different productions on different projects.
Nice.
The main thing is to keep true to our roots, and that's for me. I'm going to continue to oversee the production on things. We have some talented young guys that are working barrels with me now, and I don't think if you can't have a mentorship programs. I had 2 amazing mentors in my life,
Yeah.
and have been honored, to give back, and hopefully people have careers that just take off and they get what they want from it. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to get those experiences for the consumers and for the trade as well to come in. Internship programs,
Nice.
a lot of different things. Bar at our facility as well, so we'll have the full experience there.
So Matt, there you go. Just
We have several states more opening.
Intern, working in internship, man.
There you go. Work it up.
Pay in barrels,
Yeah.
not in bottles, in barrels.
There you go.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
I'll take that.
They're empty, but they're easy to carry.
Yeah, easier that way.
Throw them up on your shoulder. Just walk around with it. Well, that sounds great. So I always like to ask our guests, what's been the best part, the most fun, whatever you want to call it, of this journey for you so far?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. If my wife was sitting here and talking of me, she would probably say that the stress level, even though you'd think this would be a lot, after all the years of what I've done, my stress level is way lower.
Nice.
Doing what we want to do with great partners that we try to stay out of each other's way. Like I said, each of us have our own strengths, our own weaknesses. Identifying our weaknesses and being humble enough to work with it and be okay with it. That's always, it's great with these guys and gals. But yeah, seeing how it's developing, seeing how it's physically coming together, our facilities, getting to know the contractors and everything else. It's feedbacks that we get to do with different events and consumer events. It's everybody's so supportive.
Yeah.
People coming out of the woodworks I haven't talked to in 15 years. They're like, dude, congratulations on what you're doing, man. If I can ever be assistance, just let me know. I'm like, wow,
Wow.
Yeah,
you
that's cool.
do things 20, 30 years ago, and it comes back 360.
That's really cool. I mean, and you treat people right throughout the course. And
Try to.
Well, but if people are coming back and saying, "Hey, congratulations," then you've obviously done something right.
I'm sure some of them are out there that probably would want to do the other. But,
That's all right. So, Barry, where can people find your products and more information about Limestone Farms?
Well, limestonefarms.com
Okay.
is a great place to start right there. And that'll give you information on each product, what we do and where we're going into our other markets, with other states, Texas and New Mexico and Illinois and Michigan and New York and the coastal, everything else coming on. So we'll keep that up to date for people, for those of you who are watching out there for that. Locally, a lot of your better independent bottle shops, quite a few restaurants. We focused a lot on restaurants. Your sponsor carries our product as well. Liquor Barn has that. So they took a smaller allocation. Obviously, there wasn't that much of the private stock,
right.
But took care of them. Some of the Kroger stores will have some of it as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you can't find it, please get on our website, send it to us. We'll get you in contact with people that can find it. If it's in Tennessee, again, our other states, Georgia, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, man, we appreciate you joining us tonight and coming here live, hanging out with us.
Yeah, man, no, I really
in the
appreciate it.
basement.
Really enjoyed it, guys. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Definitely been a lot of fun. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight, Barry?
Oh man, I hope everybody has a really happy and safe holidays. I don't want to be trite in that, but can't express that enough. So it's America is a wonderful place to be, and I hope everybody enjoys each and every day.
Very nice. Well said. Matt, any final thoughts before we close it out?
Barry, thanks for sitting down here and coming to the Bourbon Life Studios, sitting around the table with all of us, and for bringing what you all are doing. And it seems like we could have you on in another week and we'd have a whole other lineup of bottles up there. So
we could definitely have the same colors, but we could have some fun.
Yeah. You're definitely doing something right, and I think it shows in the product, shows in the blending, the layering, your philosophy towards it. But you're a great person, a great representative for the brand, and
thank you.
I think that speaks much more to the volumes of where this is going, just to have good people behind it and great people to represent the brand.
Well, we're open to thank you. Thank you. It's can't really say much more than that. So thank you. Hope I can live up and deserve all that. So,
Nice.
But give us our feedback. We get on there and give us our feedback. Hate it, love it, indifferent, whatever. It's important to us. So.
For sure. Well, Barry, thanks so much for doing this, man. We've really enjoyed this. Had a great time. Mm-hmm. The bourbon's great. Everyone we tried tonight, just been a big fan of it. I think the second one, not the second one, but the
small batch.
The small batch, I think was, I'm thinking that's probably the one for me.
It sings to me as well.
Yeah, man. That's really good. They're all good. That one though was just something different about it that hit my palate just the right way, man. So very good. Great job what you guys are doing. Very excited to have you on here. Look forward to being able to do it again sometime soon. That'll be a lot of fun.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we'll come up and see you guys if you have the availability to do that. We'd love to come up there and check things out.
24 minutes away.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, again, thanks, Barry, for hanging out with us. And thank you all, our listeners. Like Matt always says, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is, you get your Bourbon Life fix. We appreciate you guys joining us, taking the time to listen to what we're doing. We also want to thank our sponsors. We appreciate everything they do for us. We couldn't do the show without their help and support. And if you'd like to, you can find us obviously on Instagram and Facebook as The Bourbon Life. We also have our private Facebook group, The Bourbon Lifers. Feel free to join that. We'd love to have you in there with us. We have some really good conversations and some fun things going on. So join that private group. If you want to send us an email, tell us how awesome we are or how bad we are, whichever you prefer. You could do that. Send it to thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined, please feel free to leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. With that said, I want to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.